All right, so now that you know how to set up a two-way table, we're going to look at how to find some different values and percentages and how to actually use these. Um, and I want to introduce two terms here, or actually three terms. First of all, we have what's known as a relative frequency table. Relative means that we are doing them as they relate to the total rather than just values. So the easiest way to do that is a percentage, okay? So what we're doing here, a relative frequency table, is made up of joint and marginal frequencies. We'll talk about those in a second. And it's made up of the percentages in each category instead of the number, all right? So that table that we saw up above with the people voting for or against having the park. I want to revisit that here, and I have a copy of that table down below. We're going to use it even more later, but we can refer to it right now. All right. So remember, we had a total of 200 people that we surveyed. Well, here, since we're dealing with percentages, we're going to have a total of 100%. Okay. Remember, they should be 100%. All right. Now, the joint frequencies, those are these things in here where it's for and in this age bracket, or it's against and in this age bracket. So all of these here are what are known as the joint frequencies. They're joining together two of the different parts of the variable, against and between ages 41 and 60. Okay, these out here are what are known as the marginal frequencies. So the totals for the rows and the totals for the columns are the marginal frequencies. So let's look at how we would actually get these. Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to highlight this here and look at the table down here. The corresponding box originally had 25 people in it. Okay, 25 people in this age bracket voted for having the park. All right, so how do we use that to get a relative frequency? Well, we simply take that 25 people and we divide it by the total, that grand total, 200. All right, and all of these we are going to divide by 200. All right, so if you do that, you get 0.125, which is 12.5%. Okay, so right here is 12.5%. Okay, so right there, 12.5%. All right, let's do, I'm going to pick another one. Typically, you do them in order. I'll pick another one at random just so you can see kind of how this works. If I'm going to do this, the relative frequency right here, that's in ages 41 to 60 who have no opinion. Down here, that was a total of 15 people. Okay, so that means we have 15 out of the 200 people in this box right here. Well, that comes down to a 0.075, which is 7.5%. Okay, now you don't want to round, or if you do, you round how you're told. Okay, but in this case, we're not going to round it up to 8 or round the other one up to 13, because remember, we want all the columns and rows to add up. And then the totals will add up to 100. The totals of this column will add up to 100% as well. So we're going to put this in as the decimal, 7.5%. All right. So now I just have to go through and do all of them this same way. All right. We take the value that's in the box and we're going to divide that by the 200 people that were surveyed. Okay. So I'm going to do this relatively quickly. If you are unsure of what I'm doing, you can pause it and go back. but I'm just going to fill this out pretty quickly. All right. So right here, this 20 out of 200 is 10%. Okay. This 5 out of 200 is 2.5%. All right. Next row, we have 30 out of 200. That is 15%. Here again, we have 30 out of 200, so that's 15%. And then this next row over 60, there's 50 out of 200. That's 25%. 20 out of 200 is again a 10%. And then 5 out of 200 we saw before, and that is 2.5%. Okay. Now, I intentionally left the marginal frequencies blank here because you can actually get them two ways. All right. First of all, I could come back down here to this table if I'm doing this first marginal frequency of the total for ages 21 to 40. And I could say, okay, well, 50 out of 200 is 25%. But remember, this is the total of this row. So if I add these up, 12.5 plus 10 is 22.5, plus another 2.5 is 25. So that right there is the total. And again, this is a way that you can double check yourself. You can either take the percent right out of here. For example, 75 out of 200 is going to be 67.5. Or you can simply add up the values in the row. Okay. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. That's 37.5. 37.5, not 67. And if I add these up, I get 15, and 15 is 30, plus 7.5 is 37.5. All right, so it works. I'm going to just do it the fast way now from now on, adding the rows and the columns. All right, 25 plus 10 is 35, plus 2.5 is 37.5%. Notice if I add these up, 37.5 plus 37.5 is 75. 75 plus 25 gives me the 100 I'm looking for. Okay. Now I'm going to go down the columns. 12.5% plus 15 plus 25. 15 and 25 is 40, plus another 12.5. That's 52.5%. Okay. Here, 10 plus 15 plus 10, that is 35%. And then here, 2.5 plus 7.5 plus 2.5, that's 5 plus, that's 12.5%. If I add along this row, just to double check, 52.5 plus 35 is 87.5. 87.5 plus 12.5 is 100%. Okay. So that is how you come up with relative frequencies. You're just taking a percentage out of the whole every time. Okay. Now, that's a little different from what's called the conditional relative frequency. Conditional relative frequency. This is calculating the percentage or frequency based on the total of a row or a column, not the whole table. So we're not going to be dividing by 200 this time. We're going to be dividing by either the total of the row or the total of the column. And that's where this condition comes in. The condition is kind of the category that we're zoning in on. All right. So, for example, what percentage of people ages 21 to 40 are for the park? Okay. So basically, what I've just done here, let me get a different color. What I've just done here by saying what percentage of people in this age group, look for that word of. All right, is I said, I really don't care about any of these folks down here. All I care about is this row right here. Okay, Well, how many people are in that row? There's 50 total. Okay. So there's 50 people total. What percentage are for the park? Well, there are 25 people who are for the park out of those 50. So that gives me 50%. Notice that's different than the relative frequency, which was 12.5% out of the whole thing. We're not taking it out of the full 200. We're taking it out of just the group that we're looking at. If you want a formula here, and you're familiar with these terms, the conditional relative frequency is the joint frequency, in this case 25. 25 is our joint frequency over the marginal frequency. Okay, so the joint frequency 25 over the marginal frequency 50. Okay, now we could do it the other way as well. Let me do this one. I'll do this one in brown. Okay, what percentage of people with no opinion? So there is the group of people that we care about. Just this column right here. What percentage of those people are between the ages of 41 and 60? Well, how many of those people are there? Well, there are 25 of those people. That's our marginal frequency. So this is going to be out of 25. And then how many of them are between the ages of 40 and 61? Well, right here, there are 15 of those people. So 15 out of the 25 people who have no opinion are also in this age range. Okay, so that comes out to 0.6, which is 60%. Okay, now these percentages are not going to add up to 100 or stuff like that. You just go with what it says, because again, we're looking at the category, in this case, of no opinion, or the category of people who are just in the age range 21 to 40 in this first example. Okay, so that is how we find relative frequency, the percentage out of the whole, and conditional relative frequency, the percentage out of a category. Now, you're ready. At this point, you're ready to go ahead and practice. Take some time, work through it, come ask for help before you hit submit on the Google form. You can come ask for help at our meeting at 11 o'clock. And you can even wait till tomorrow to meet if you missed today's meeting, okay? Or email me, contact me any way you can, ask questions. Hope you're doing well, and I'll see you soon, I hope.